As we enter into the warmer months of the year, what better way to celebrate than looking at the movie that makes me feel the absolute coldest I've ever felt in my life. Both by the snow around and the tension and the incredible isolation you feel is better than any fan that you can buy right now. This movie is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and the one that I think is probably the best made horror movie. This movie is The Shining. Today, I want to talk about a few key reasons why this movie is as scary as any movie today, and why, even after the era of jump scares in the Conjuring franchise or something like the Saw franchise, why this movie, even after all these years, still scares you and will continue to do so for many reasons. Let's take a look at the first reason. The number one thing I think that you'll notice as you're watching this movie are the wide open spaces that seem to just be lurking everywhere at the overlook. The use of the wide angle lens and the intentional blocking creates moments where the wide open feeling of the hotel that in normal circumstances would feel nice or fancy, and it shifts them to be terrifying. What hides in the corners? What hides in the shadows? Same thing with the long, almost unending hallways, where they never seem to end and you feel like you're completely alone, but you're still terrified of what may be resting around the next corner. This is all done very intentionally. Let me give you an example. This scene where Danny rolls on the carpet around the hallways, especially either the scene before he enters into the room 237 or when he meets the twins, there is this never-ending sense of dread that elicits such a distinct feeling of isolation, yet you also are scared that around every turn and every pedal that you're one step closer to something you don't want to be anywhere near. The other scene I think that at least plays into this a tiny bit is where Jack actually writes. Jack, who works in this gigantic open space, feels in certain shots microscopic in comparison to the room that he sits in. This hotel is massive, and part of the horror of this movie is what is 1 foot off screen or down that hallway? What is the difference between the room we're in and the one next door? When it's a historic snowstorm and the only place you have to go is the rooms next door, are the bumps in the night scarier than your father or husband wielding an axe? The second part of this movie that horrifies me is Jack's instability, and how the hotel uses Jack to once again cause havoc around the hotel. Jack is slowly turned evil by the hotel and its influence, or at least that's what we are meant to believe. If Jack is already insane by the beginning of the movie, then the first part of this comes into play even more. Isolation doesn't help your mental health at all. Take for example, the scene of Jack in the room where he works bouncing the ball against the wall. There's nothing else to do other than to repeatedly slam a ball against the wall and just try to have inspiration strike, but it never really happens. And we see that even though we hear the typewriter going, he is just repeatedly writing. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, over and over and over and over again. This is something that I think really shows us the situation that he finds himself in, and the two questions I have the most about The Shining. Is Jack always crazy from the very beginning of the movie? And if he isn't, at what point does the hotel finally make him break and sort of infect him? It's a very interesting question, and one I don't think we will ever truly have the answers for. The reason I include this is for one specific reason. From Wendy's point of view, she is watching slowly as ghosts, demons, or whatever you want to call it, possess and completely destroy her entire family. She rarely, if ever, sees anything until the last quarter of the movie, and yet her entire life and family is being completely shaped by these entities that she can't even see. That is one of those underlying horrors of this movie that you won't see talked about that often. Wendy rarely sees what's happening, but yet it's happening to the people that she loves directly, and she is completely unable to stop it, which is one of the scariest things I've ever seen in a movie like this. What do you think is the scariest aspect of The Shining? Why do you think it still scares you so much, or do you not find it scary at all? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you subscribe and like the video, I'll buy a padlock and put it on room 237. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on Instagram, it's @MediaByteCompany, and TikTok is @MediaByteCo. Listen to all the podcasts on the Media by Podcast Network, Exploring Cinema, Slash It, and Diary of an Indie Filmmaker. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.